Now let's look at this figure 21-63 that deals basically really with the approval of equipment, the suitability of equipment in accordance with 505.9A and B. Now you notice in the NEC loop, you see in the illustration, uh, we inspect equipment when it arrives on the job to make sure it hasn't been damaged in some way in transit. Just check and see if connections, if a conductor's loose or something inside. But we don't change nothing. We just make sure everything is appropriate. Now, 500.8A is our equipment. We start in A. 505.9A and B. Now, when I say 500.9A, we're approving equipment. And we're approving equipment in 505.9A and B. Our equipment that we select, I want to kind of get that straight, I kind of misquoted there, would be 500.7 for the divisions in the NEC. In the NEC, of course, we're going to pick up 505 that we just previously looked at if we're in the zones. But now notice the equipment, it has to be identified as applied to equipment, recognizable, suitable for the specific purpose, function, use, environment, application, and so forth, were described in a particular code requirement. The manufacturer may have some special requirements that they want you to make sure that you provide with your installation or your design. And then, of course, the suitability of the equipment for a specific purpose, environment, or application may be determined by bullet 1, equipment listing or labeling. Now we call that's 110.3B as in boy in the NEC, isn't it, along with C. Evidence of equipment evaluated from a qualified testing lab, like UL, ETL, Factory Mutual, any lab that the state, county, or city would accept, or an inspection agency. But notice now, if it's the inspection agency, they have to be concerned with product evaluation or other evidence acceptable to the authority having jurisdiction in accordance with section 90.4 in the NEC. A manufacturer self-certification, if the authority having jurisdiction will accept it. Pretty well through Texas, for example, it's either listed and labeled equipment by 110.3B, or if it comes in as custom-made equipment, as you see in the OSHA loop there, 1910.399, acceptance of equipment, then an ERDL has to be put on it. There's very few will have electrical board review it like the city of Fort Worth used to do if it was custom-made, or owner's engineering judgment. Now, in the oil industry, it's not unusual at all for industrial control panels to be designed using a Hoffman box with components listed and labeled, put inside the box, and it becomes an assembly. And then under owner's engineering judgment, it's approved. Now, the authority having jurisdiction, if they happen to have authority in those plants or those facilities or those production areas, then they would have to accept that engineering judgment. But where not, then the owner's engineering judgment, they can accept equipment that is custom made. And then, of course, the definitions of labeled and listed is in Article 100, Part 1, that you could review. Now, notice the NEC loop, you'd want to look at 1910.7. That it's just loaded with good information in that section. It will talk about custom-made equipment, how you accept equipment, listed and labeled equipment, labs. It goes through the whole thing. And then OSHA 1910.303A is listed with equipment that are custom-made, or equipment that is listed and labeled, or equipment that has a nurdle on it, how it should be designed and provided with the appropriate clearances, torquing, terminations, and that kind of thing. But then the acceptance of equipment, I think, really tells it all really good is OSHA 1910.399. And it's the first definition there, acceptance of equipment. So coming right out the gate, you're going to pick that up. But that's what this figure 21-63 is illustrating to the user of the code, is how equipment would be accepted in the zone areas in accordance with 505.9A and B.